Not that bad in here. I guess once it gets filled up.
That's usually the case. It gets stuffy.
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. I guess once it gets filled up. That's a long delay.
How many?
It just said when I said once it gets filled up. That it just came out here.
Well, that's like.
Yeah, it's like a good.
Oh, wow.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good luck.
Thank you. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, we're just doing a one last sound check before pre-stated, which will probably start in just a few minutes.
Not getting levels for some reason.
Okay.
Everything on back there.
Yeah, we did sound check with IT and it was working.
That's weird.
All right, I'm gonna give you another few minutes and I'm gonna bring reporters in.
Okay.
Testing, testing. Good. Testing, testing. Great. Okay, sure. Thanks.
Hello. Hope everyone's breathing okay with the air outside. Hi, Gail. Hello, hello. Hi. Oh, I know.
Was there all white now?
No,
There's so many people all white on today.
suffragette. We're suffragettes. Okay, thank you all for joining today, and I'm thrilled to be joined by our colleagues, our Deputy Speaker, Dr. Natasha Williams, Councilmember Yusef Salam, Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa, Councilmember Gail Brewer, Councilmember Kevin Riley. So thank you all for coming this afternoon. We had a very busy week, not a slow July week at the City Council this week. Yesterday, we held literally an all-day hearing on Romansh's Law, named after Romansh Mahajan, who tragically died after he was thrown from a horse-drawn carriage, and he died trying to save his mother who had fallen, and then he sadly fell and hit his head. We heard unbelievably compelling and powerful testimony yesterday from his family, from animal rights advocates, from TWU, from workers, from stakeholders all across the city. This piece of legislation would phase out this tradition while supporting the workers whose livelihood depends on it. We are actively working on a plan to secure drivers meaningful employment in tourism and hospitality and animal welfare and other areas. And from the hearing yesterday, we very much intend to update the legislation. We want to add additional worker protection language. We want to add an additional language that talks more about the horses, and we'll make other necessary changes as well. And I think it was pretty clear from some of the testimony we heard yesterday that it is clear that New Yorkers are ready for us to usher Central Park into a new, safer era for our animals, for our visitors, and for our residents here at home. And for those residents who are small business owners, we have also been very focused this past week and in the past couple months on protections for small business owners as well. So today we're introducing a bill that I'm sponsoring that aims to topple some of the barriers that prevent small businesses from succeeding. We have to remember that about 5,000 small businesses closed last year. That's an incredibly troubling statistic. What my new bill would do is it would establish a quadrennial commission whose recommendations will ease permitting, licensing, and inspections, as well, of course, as reduce fines and fees. We will also be voting today on important legislation that is sponsored by Councilmember Susan Zhuang, which would help to cut through the maze of bureaucratic red tape that aspiring business owners are forced to navigate. As a former small business owner myself, I take that very seriously. We have heard from countless small businesses who literally are trying to open up a new small business in New York. Some have waited years to do so. And so that's really not acceptable. And so through Councilmember Zhuang's legislation, we are working to really change that. On Tuesday, we announced that the City Council secured $1.5 million in the budget for 60,000 free swim lessons for an additional 3,000 second graders. This is an issue I've worked on for several years. About 2 years ago, the council passed my bill that mandated free swim lessons for every second grader in New York City in the public school system. One of the things that we found through that process is that about 25% of young people in the city do not know how to swim, and it's particularly a problem in Black and brown communities. So this is an issue of equity and inclusion, and so we're working to address that. About a year ago, I launched a program along with Councilmember Krishnan and the Gray Foundation to provide free swim lessons to over 3,000 New Yorkers. So with this new city council funding, we're basically expanding on that, because whether or not you can swim should never depend on whether or not you can afford to learn this life-saving skill. And so I was thrilled to be in the Bronx the other day at Lehman to launch that new program. It's very, very exciting. Then earlier this morning, many of us gathered in the rotunda to talk about the RESPECT Act. I want to thank Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa, and she'll briefly in a few minutes talk about her bill. But one of the things that's so important, I mean, we've been working on this issue for over 2 years. I think we did 4 rallies over the last 2 years for the paraprofessionals. We have 25,000 paraprofessionals in New York who starting salary is $32,500. It's shameful, it's unconscionable, it's unacceptable. Many of the paras are literally living in the shelter system, and we have to remember that our paras are supporting our most vulnerable students, our special needs students. We have about 1,600 vacancies of paraprofessionals right now in the city of New York, and if you look at what we're spending in the budget on Carter cases, we're spending about $1.5 billion a year on Carter cases. We know that by finally raising the pay for our paras, we will also not only be doing the right thing for them and help to backfill the 1,600 vacancies, but we will, of course, also lower the costs ultimately of the Carter cases. So this is not only the right thing to do for these paras and for our students, it's also the right thing fiscally to do as well. So more to come, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But now let's move on to our stated agenda. So first, we're going to vote on a number of different land use items. Today, the council is taking essential action to address our city's affordable housing crisis by approving land use applications that, when added together, will facilitate a total of 3,242 units of new housing, to be specific, through a combination of HPD subsidy, mandatory inclusionary housing. Over half of this housing will be affordable, nearly 1,700 units. These applications span all 5 boroughs, and the council's negotiations prioritize adding and deepening affordable housing. This is particularly the case at Monitor Point, where the project we are voting on today represents an increase of over 200 affordable units from what was presented just a few weeks ago. This council will continue to proactively work to deliver new homes and more vibrant communities for New Yorkers as we move forward this term. So specifically, the following items are Monitor Point, an application to facilitate the development of 2 new mixed-use buildings with approximately 1,324 residential units, 50% of which will be affordable, 50%, as well as a new museum honoring the legacy of the USS Monitor and publicly accessible open space in Councilmember Lincoln Ressler's project. I was really proud to partner with Councilmember Ressler on this. I think, this is so important. I view my job as Speaker to get members to yes and to maximize the amount of affordable housing, so was thrilled to partner with him on this, and now invite Councilmember Ressler to come up and speak.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Speaker Menin. I am pleased to be supporting the Monitor Point project. I feel very strongly that when we're proposing developments on public land, those projects have to be primarily for the public good. And when the MTA came to me about 5 years ago, when Bill de Blasio was still the mayor and I was not yet sworn in as the council member, I expressed tremendous reservations about this project. At the time, they were proposing that about 247 or 248 affordable units would be built on this publicly owned site, 25% of the total units, 75% of the housing would be luxury housing. And we worked together in what was without a doubt the toughest negotiation I've been through in 5 years in the council to achieve a project that I think will benefit Greenpoint for generations to come. We nearly tripled the number of total affordable housing that's going to be built on site to 662 units of affordable housing. We were able to get the developer to commit to building out over 50,000 square feet of open space. The developer's committing $300,000 per year to maintain Bushwick Inlet Park. The developer's building 2 new bathrooms on their site that will be publicly accessible for folks enjoying Bushwick Inlet Park and the surrounding neighborhood. The MTA is going to be making the Nassau G train ADA accessible with a brand new elevator, and there were other significant investments that really make this project, I think, a win for our community. It would not have happened without the steadfast and strong support of Speaker Menin. I am really grateful that you had my back on this one every single step of the way. You and the land use team were instrumental partners, and I really want to shout out Chair Riley, who came for a tour on site to visit us in Greenpoint and see for himself why it was so important that we really negotiate aggressively for the best possible deal for our community. And I just want to thank a few other people as well. The leadership from Gotham, Brian Kelly and David Pickett. I'm not sure I'm their favorite council member, but they were fair negotiators, and I think we got to a good place, and I'm grateful that they were on the other side of the table, as I think they are responsible developers who've done a lot of good work across the city, including with Councilmember Brewer. I want to recognize and thank the leadership from the MTA, especially Sean Fitzpatrick, and I want to thank the Mamdani administration. This was a very challenging project, and they wanted us to get to yes. They put the resources in to help us get to yes, and so I really want to especially thank the mayor himself for coming out and visiting the site with me, Deputy Mayor Bozorg, Genevieve Arvind, Patrick Love from HBD, and others, and my team worked really hard on this. Hannah, Eliza, Molly, my chief of staff, they were all terrific, and we had many advocates in the community who were strongly opposed to this, some that were supportive, but Churches United for Fair Housing in particular really helped us and worked closely with us throughout the process, so I want to thank them again. And our goal on these projects isn't to make everybody happy. That's impossible to do. But it's to strike a deal that we think will benefit our community for generations to come, and we absolutely achieve that here at Monitor Point. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Next is DeWitt Clinton Park North, two related applications in Councilmember Gail Brewer's district to facilitate the redevelopment of two auto dealerships into mixed-use towers with a combined 1,064 units, 286 of which will be affordable under MIH. So now let me invite Councilmember Brewer to talk about this.
These two buildings, as you heard, are 629 West 54th Street and 801 11th Avenue. They're right next to the Hudson River. I have 1094 units, but who's counting? And they are going to be at least for 287 are mandated to be low income as part of mandatory inclusionary program. They'll be low income, 60% or lower of AMI. We negotiated another 12 to 14 units at a higher AMI, 165% or lower, that will be permanently affordable for middle-income New Yorkers. I wish we could have gotten more, but that's what we got. CB4 has always advocated for workforce housing. The developers are contributing $200,000 to the Parks Department for improvements to DeWitt Clinton Park, which is a public park across the street. They actually need $12 million, so we were able to get just a little bit. The developers reduced the height of the building at 629 West 54th Street to 520 feet from 550 because we are concerned about the shadows into the river. As we heard earlier, there's already car dealerships, and I hope they remain. I think they will because they are union jobs. These buildings are also being constructed with a payment of not less than $29.7 million to the Hudson River Park Trust. It's an amount that will increase based on inflation and final approval. It will enable the trust to partially upgrade the pilings under Pier 76, which is now a wonderful open space, but was the Manhattan Tow Pound. I want to acknowledge that because of the length of time allowed to construct, perhaps 10 years as part of Community Board 4, the trust entered into agreements with the developers binding them to purchase development rights from the park, even if other alternatives become available later. These agreements have been completed. I thank Community Board 4, particularly Joe Resticcia and Paul Devlin, and the Land Use Division of the City Council for all their efforts. We all wanted more. We wanted a lower height. We wanted more funds for the park. But in Manhattan, negotiating affordable units on private land, it's supposed to, according to the city and everybody else, they want the market units to carry everything. I feel strongly that the city should contribute resources for more affordable housing, as it does in other boroughs. We have good schools and transportation. The developers have indicated they will not build here unless 485X is amended. We shall see. The outcome is not clear. And there are commercial enterprises there, so there's no loss of income for the developers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Brewer. Our Land Use Committee has been incredibly busy under the amazing leadership of Councilmember Kevin Riley. We are really prioritizing building as much affordable housing as possible, and I want to thank him for his tremendous leadership and ask him to come up to talk about some of the projects.
Thank you, Speaker Menon. I'm proud to join you and my colleagues here today as we recognize the significance of a transformative land use projects before us today. When I had the honor of being named chair of this committee on land use, I made a commitment to use this platform to help advance projects that will create meaningful opportunities and deliver lasting benefits for generations of New Yorkers across our city and within our respective districts. And today we are fulfilling that promise. Through the hard work and collaboration of the Planning and Land Use Division, Speaker Menon's office, and my colleagues that stand with us here today in the Council, we are approving more than 3,200 units of housing, including a remarkable more than 1,700 units of affordable housing. These projects represent exactly the kind of progress our city needs: thoughtful, community-driven development that expands opportunity while reflecting the unique character and priorities of each neighborhood. What is especially meaningful about today's vote is that it's truly a 5-borough effort to address our city's housing crisis. With our actions today, communities across the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, and Staten Island will see new housing opportunities that respond to local needs and strengthen neighborhoods. So from Bay Ridge to Parkchester, St. George to Fresh Meadows, Greenpoint to Hell's Kitchen, these projects demonstrate that the future of the housing in New York City must and be for our communities and by our communities. I am incredibly proud of the work that the Committee on Land Use and the entire Council is advancing these historic projects here today. I look forward to continuing this work with Speaker Menon and our standing land use team. And I just want to thank my colleagues because the Council has been doing a lot of hard work with coming to a yes within our communities. When I was out at Councilmember Ressler's district, there were a lot of opposition. Everywhere we walked, people told him no, no, no. And what Councilmember Ressler did, he sat with them, he spoke with them, and I know Councilmember Brewer did the same thing, and so did my other colleagues. So the Council is working diligently with our communities to come to a yes. So I just want that to be reflected on the record. And with that being said, thank you, Speaker Menon.
They wouldn't come near me. They wouldn't dare.
Thank you, Chair Riley. Okay, continuing on the land use topic, 2950 West 24th Street rezoning will facilitate the development of an 18-story mixed-use building with 408 units, all of which will be income restricted pursuant to HPD's ELA program, as well as 2 superintendent units and commercial and community facility space in Councilmember Kayla Santasuoso's district. I don't believe she's here today, but we thank her for her work on that. 1166 Bedford Avenue rezoning will facilitate the development of a 12-story mixed-use building with approximately 144 affordable independent residences for seniors, as well as ground floor retail and community facility space in Councilmember Chi Osei's district. 198-208 Richmond Terrace will facilitate the development of a 14-story mixed-use building with 118 residential units, 35 of which will be permanently affordable under MIH, as well as community facility space and off-street accessory parking in Majority Whip Camilla Hanks's district. Next, 1160 Pugsley Avenue rezoning will facilitate the development of a new 8-story mixed-use building with approximately 104 residential units and ground floor supermarket space in Councilmember Amanda Farias's district. So I invite her to come to talk about this project.
Today, I'm proud to be voting with my council colleagues on the 1160 Pugsley Avenue rezoning, a project that will deliver 104 affordable homes, including family-sized apartments, neighborhood-serving retail, outdoor recreation space, and a fresh green market that will expand access to healthy, affordable food in District 18. This project is a result of thoughtful collaboration and demonstrates what we can accomplish when we work together to address New York City's housing and affordability challenges and actions around food justice in communities that are currently deserts. I want to thank Speaker Menon for her support on this project, Council Land Use staff for their hard work throughout the process, and the applicant and development team for working with my office to strengthen this proposal long before it was even presented to us and respond to the direct needs of my community. By pairing affordable housing with fresh food access and neighborhood serving retail, this project goes beyond just building homes. It invests in the quality of life of the families who will live there and the surrounding neighborhood. This is how government and community stakeholders get the best work done together, and I'm proud of what this project will have to offer my community when it's complete and for the rest of the surrounding areas in the East Bronx. Thank you so much for giving me a moment, Speaker.
Great, thank you so much. And then next is 164th Street rezoning, which would facilitate the development of a new 6-story mixed-use building with 80 residential units, 24 of which will be affordable under MIH, and community facility space in Councilmember Jim Gennaro's district. Next, Landmarks Preservation Commission designation of 3 individual landmarks linked to New York City's immigration history. First is a Public School 15 annex located in Councilmember Lincoln Resser's district, originally built in 1889 to serve Brooklyn's growing immigrant community. Do you want to say anything about that? Okay. That second is the Church of St. Mary in Councilmember Christopher Marte's district, the 3rd oldest Roman Catholic church in New York City. And then lastly, the Lithuanian Alliance building in Councilmember Carl Wilson's district, which has served as a home for the Lithuanian Alliance for America since 1910. We are also approving a school siting in Majority Whip Camilla Hanks's district for a new, approximately 801-seat high school at 25 Wall Street. Finally, 2 applications by HPD to facilitate the preservation of existing affordable housing. First is 511 West 171st Street, ANCP cluster, to facilitate the rehabilitation of 3 city-owned buildings with 50 units under the Affordable Neighborhood Cooperative Program in Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa's district. And then second, the East Harlem El Barrio Article 11 amendment to a project previously approved by the council in 2019 to allow commercial spaces to be occupied by community facility uses by Deputy Whip Elsie Encarnacion and Councilmember Yusuf Salam's district. Next, we're going to vote on the following finance items: a transparency resolution approving new designations and changes of certain organizations receiving funding in the expense budget. Preconsidered introduction, sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee, would decrease the credit against the city personal income tax on residents for their share of city unincorporated business tax, also known as the UBT, paid by partnerships in which such residents are partners or businesses of which they are proprietors. Today, we'll also vote on the following pieces of legislation. Resolution 371, sponsored by Councilmember Yusuf Salam, would declare August 6th annually as Fat Man Scoop Recognition Day in the City of New York, and I now invite Councilmember Salam to talk about this.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today, the New York City Council votes on Resolution 371, declaring August 6th as Fat Man Scoop's birthday. Declaring August 6th, Fat Man Scoop's birthday, as Fat Man Scoop Recognition Day in the City of New York. And I'm proud to be the prime sponsor of this resolution. Fat Man Scoop was Harlem. That thunderous voice, that infectious energy, that call and response that made strangers feel like family. He gave everything to every stage that he ever stood on. A decade on Hot 97, collaborations with Missy Elliott, Ciara, Mariah Carey, Timbaland, and so many more. He crossed genres, crossed borders, and touched people all over the world. And through it all, he never stopped being Isaac Freeman from Harlem. He was also my friend. When I was inaugurated as the council member for District 9, Isaac pulled up. And he put on a show for me and my constituents. That was who he was. He showed up for the people he loved the same way he showed up for every audience, with his whole heart, every single time. We lost him on August 30th of 2024. 56 years old, on stage, doing exactly what he was put on this earth to do. This resolution is New York City's way of making sure we never forget one of our own. Every August 6th, this city will stop and remember Isaac Friedman III. Not just for what he did for music, but what he did for Harlem and what he meant to the people who loved him. Thank you.
Beautiful words. Thank you so much, Councilmember. Next is Introduction 398, sponsored by Councilmember Lincoln Ressler, would amend the annual disclosure law to affect the bans, the monetary bans, that a New York City officer, employee, candidate for office, or political party official selects when disclosing anything with a monetary value or amount. So I invite Councilmember Ressler to say a few words about this.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Speaker Menon. This is a pretty technical cleanup bill, but as I think we all know, certain city employees and candidates are required to disclose their financial interests to the Conflicts of Interest Board, to COIB, annually. Employees must report on which value range assets fall into. These ranges are partially adjusted based on Consumer Price Index, and they're partially fixed in law. And since they haven't been adjusted in 23 years, you have some complications in the existing ranges overlapping. And so this bill will clean up those ranges. It will also modify them and provide some additional transparency on the assets that people with policymaking discretion and candidates for office have. So I think this is a positive bill. Both the previous administration and the current administration had requested us on behalf of COIB to pass this legislation, and I'm grateful that the Speaker supported it and that we're able to get it through thanks to the support of the Chair of the GovOps Committee, Councilmember Brewer. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Introduction 913A, sponsored by Councilmember Amanda Farias, would raise the maximum age at which someone can take the civil service exam to become a police officer from 35 years of age to 43 years of age. This legislation would align local eligibility standards with those established pursuant to state law. So I now invite Councilmember Farias to the podium.
Thank you, Speaker Menon, especially for the opportunity to speak on my bill, Introduction 913A today, which expands the eligibility for qualified New Yorkers seeking to become New York City police officers. As I mentioned at this morning's Public Safety Committee vote, the impetus for this legislation came from conversations with my local 45th Precinct Council about the barriers that may be discouraging qualified New Yorkers from pursuing a career with the NYPD, as well as their challenges with attrition rates, which placed undue burdens on the officers. We took a closer look at where candidates were being lost in the hiring process and found that over the last several years, hundreds were unable to complete that process because they exceeded the maximum age of 35 before their appointments were even finalized. That number does not include the New Yorkers who never even applied because they missed the opportunity or believe the opportunity was missed and already closed to them. Under the current city law, applicants must be under the age of 35 when they file to take the police officer civil service examination. Intro 913A raises that maximum age to under 43, bringing the city's law into alignment with the civil service law. We intentionally established that threshold so individuals entering the profession at age 42 would still have the opportunity to complete 20 years of service under the city's existing pension framework. The bill also preserves the military service age deduction by allowing up to 6 years of active duty service or terminal leave to be deducted when determining eligibility. And we amended the legislation to apply retroactively to September 1st of 2025, ensuring those who took the examination after the state law changed are afforded the same opportunity this legislation creates. I worked with our bill drafters to ensure this measure expands the pathway into public service for qualified working people who may come to this profession later in life. Every candidate entering this process will still be expected to meet the same standards required to become a New York City police officer. They must pass the civil service exam, complete the required background investigation, and satisfy the physical, medical, psychological, educational, and character requirements, and successfully complete police academy training. This legislation simply gives more qualified New Yorkers the opportunity to demonstrate they are prepared to meet those expectations. Working people do what they have to do to support themselves and their families. They build careers, serve in the military, pursue their education, care for loved ones, and respond to changing economic circumstances. Those responsibilities can shape when someone is able to pursue a completely new profession, including a career in public service. People entering the profession after years in another industry or area of service can bring maturity, discipline, professional experience, technical expertise, and a greater understanding of the different communities and circumstances they may encounter. Qualified New Yorkers who are prepared to make that commitment deserve a fair opportunity to compete, regardless of whether they choose that path at 25 or at a more seasoned and capable stage in their lives. The NYPD has already taken important steps to strengthen recruitment by reducing the college credit requirements to 24 credits, expanding the number of police officer examinations, and making those examinations free to take. Those efforts have resulted in 5 times as many examination filers over the past year compared to previous years. Intro 913A addresses another point where otherwise qualified people have been falling directly out of that pipeline. Once again, I'm extremely proud to advance Intro 913A as part of the broader work I have taken on to foster successful career pathways in public service, like the passage of the Ditterall Police Recruitment Act at the state level, which this body called for through my primed resolution 392. Detective Ditterall Islam was my constituent, for whom I will be hosting also a street co-naming this Sunday in my district alongside his family and loved ones and fellow NYPD officers to honor and recognize his life, service, and sacrifice. I look forward to seeing this legislation open the door for eligible candidates who took the examination on or before or after September 1, 2025 to fairly compete for a career with the NYPD. Lastly, I'd like to thank a few folks for their support on moving this legislation relatively quickly. Mayor Mamdani and Commissioner Jessica Tisch, PBA President Patrick Hendry, my local precinct commanding officers for all of their feedback and precinct councils, and of course, Speaker Menon for getting us to today in its anticipated passage. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Introduction 812A, sponsored by Deputy Whip Elsie Encarnacion, would require the Commissioner of the Department of Aging to develop a protocol in collaboration with New York City Emergency Management, as well as other relevant agencies, to conduct wellness checks during cold weather alerts, extreme heat warnings like we're having now, and heat-related emergencies. Deputy Whip Encarnacion could unfortunately not join us today, but we really want to thank her for her work on this bill. And then next, Introduction 496-A, sponsored by our Deputy Speaker, Dr. Natasha Williams, would require the Commissioner of Cultural Affairs to conduct a study and provide a report to the Mayor and the Council on the potential installation of structures acknowledging the draft riots of 1863. And then another bill, preconsidered Introduction A, also sponsored by Deputy Speaker Williams, would increase the salaries of the mayor, public advocate, controller, council members, borough presidents, and district attorneys by 18.2% since the last time their salaries were adjusted by local law, as recommended by the recently released report of the New York City Quadrennial Advisory Commission for the Review of Compensation Levels of Elected Officials. I now invite Deputy Speaker Williams to the podium to discuss both of her bills.
Thank you, Speaker, and good afternoon. Today, the Council will vote on 2 pieces of legislation that address very different issues but reflect the same responsibility: building public trust. One implements the recommendations of the Independent Quadrennial Advisory Commission, carrying forward the transparent, independent, and predictable process the Council established for these reviews. It also creates a more consistent schedule for future reviews and a framework for future cost of living adjustments. The focus has always been on ensuring these decisions are made through a regular, transparent process that strengthens public trust, and I want to again thank Speaker Manning specifically for that, for making sure that this process was a transparent process. We're also taking an important step toward acknowledging one of the darkest chapters in New York City's history. This legislation requires the Department of Cultural Affairs to study potential public installations acknowledging the draft riots of 1863. For more than 160 years, there has been no formal public acknowledgement of these events in our city's landscape. This bill begins the important work of determining how New York City should recognize that history in a thoughtful, informed, and inclusive way. I also want to thank my constituent, Nia Clark, whose reporting helped bring renewed attention to the draft riots and sparked important conversations about how New York City acknowledges this history. I'm grateful for her commitment to ensuring that this chapter of our city's history is not forgotten. While these bills address different issues, they share a common purpose, once again, to strengthen public trust. One reinforces a transparent process for government decision-making. The other recognizes that public trust also means being honest about our past and intentional about how we choose to acknowledge it. Both reflect a commitment to a thoughtful and transparent government that serves the public with honesty and accountability. I want to thank Speaker Menon, my colleagues, the chair for hearing my bill, and everyone who helped to move these measures forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And now next, Introduction 955-A, also known as the Red Tape Relief Act, sponsored by Councilmember Susan Zhuang, would require the mayor to establish a program that would coordinate inspections and plan reviews among agencies to cut down on the time for new businesses to open. As I said at the outset, we heard from so many businesses, some of whom were saying it took them several years to open their business while they were waiting for necessary licenses, fees, etc., and permits. Councilmember Zhuang unfortunately couldn't join us today, but we really want to thank her for her work on this critical legislation. And then last, but definitely not least, a very important bill sponsored by Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa, a bill that we have been working on for the past 2 years, would require the Department of Education to provide a workforce stabilization payment totaling up to $10,000 to each eligible paraprofessional for work performed during the 2026-2027 year. So I now invite Councilmember De La Rosa to speak about her bill.
Thank you, Speaker Menon, for your leadership and also for joining us in this long road and making today possible. I also want to take a moment to thank the UFT and President Mulgrew, and especially our paraprofessionals. For those of you that don't know, our paraprofessionals are the backbone of our education system. They are the educational professionals who are tasked with sitting one-on-one with the most vulnerable New York City children, those children who have IEPs and who need the extra support in the classroom. Paraprofessionals in New York City make a stunning $32,000 a year in the most expensive city in the country. After 15 years, they make a little bit under $50,000. So even when they have longevity and experience, our city has not compensated them. With large gaps in this workforce, we know that the consequences are dire for New York City's children who need them the most. We have heard stories of paraprofessionals who are living in shelter, who are seriously considering leaving the profession because they cannot afford to make ends meet. We've heard today a paraprofessional tell us that she's had to stand on line at a food pantry. We've heard the stories of paraprofessionals that have to make the choices between feeding their own families and continuing to educate the kids in the classroom that they love. And I honestly think that that is a false choice. Our city can do better. The city is legally mandated to provide services for every New York City child. And if we truly believe in an education system that is inclusive and universal, every child must get the services that they're legally mandated to have. As the speaker said, $1.5 billion just last year in Carter cases. And so I believe that this bill not only will provide a survival mechanism for these paraprofessionals, it will also save the city money in the long run. This legislation is called the Respect Check, and today we're talking all about respect and dignity for these workers. We know that if we want to show our respect for workers, we have to do a lot more than talk. We have to compensate them properly. I want to thank the 47 council members who have already supported this legislation, including other elected officials like the public advocate, the Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queensborough presidents as well. well. And so we have full citywide support for this bill. I also want to say, earlier this week, I joined Mayor Mamdani in a wonderful announcement in my district about the expansion of the Horizon program, which is a special education program. In order for that program to be successful, we will need to hire DOE staff. And that staff must include paraprofessionals. And so this bill is critical in making sure programs like the Horizon program are also successful. So I want to thank everyone involved, and I'm looking forward to finally righting this wrong. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you so much. That concludes our stated agenda.
Great. We're going to begin with on-topic questions. There's a lot of news today. We have stated scheduled for 1:30, but going to try to get to all of you, so please keep it to one question and one follow-up. Great. We'll begin with on-topic. Sure.
Hi, Speaker.
Hi.
I'm wondering, I don't know if you've said this before, so if you have, but do you plan on taking the pay raise?
No, I publicly said I was not going to take the pay raise. I said that a number of months ago, and I'm abstaining from the bill.
Great. Sure.
Hi, Speaker. On the para bill, the Citizens Budget Commission put out a statement today saying that it was sidestepping the collective bargaining process. How do you respond?
Sure, happy to respond to that. Look, we wanted this to happen through collective bargaining or through the budget. We pushed very hard for it to happen through collective bargaining or through the budget. The administration did not want to do that. So we needed to use every tool in our toolbox, which is this bill. We have, as both myself and Councilmember De La Rosa said, we've been literally working on this bill for 2 years, but it was certainly our fervent hope that this be settled through collective bargaining, or if not through collective bargaining, directly through the budget. And, you know, since January, since I've been Speaker, I've been pushing very hard on that. Since that did not happen, we felt that we really had no option but to do this. And let me be clear about the fiscal impacts of this. We have to remember that the Carter cases are at $1.5 billion a year. Why are they at $1.5 billion a year? In large part, the 1,600 vacancies of paraprofessionals at the DOE is a significant contributory cause for that, and we know that. And so by doing this one-shot payment, and then we hope this will then cause enough pressure for this to finally be dealt with in collective bargaining, it will raise permanently the para's pay, and that will help to backfill these 1,600 vacancies. When those positions start to be filled, it will, of course, start to lower the enormous ballooning billion-dollar-plus Carter cases. And because parents are suing, because in large part, if you're the parent of a special needs child and you go into the classroom and there's not a para to provide your child who truly is urgently in need with those services, that is what is causing some of these Carter cases to balloon. So not only is this morally the right thing to raise the pay of paras who are largely women of color, whose starting salary is $32,500, it is fiscally the right thing to do as well.
Hi, Speaker.
Hi.
Earlier today, the mayor said that he isn't necessarily ruling out a veto for the bill. He said that he thinks it would best be handled at a negotiating table. If it comes to a veto, what are your plans? Do you see yourself doing an override?
Well, as Councilmember De La Rosa said, there are 46 members, and then plus myself, the Speaker doesn't generally sign on to bills, so that's 47 members. We have more than enough votes to do an override. I really hope it does not come to that. To do a veto of a bill that is raising the salary for paras who are literally making $32,000 a year, I mean, it's shameful wages. And I don't understand how that could be controversial or how anyone could disagree with that. Of course we want it done in the collective bargaining or through the budget, and that's what we've been pushing for since January, but that didn't happen. And so that really left us with no choice but to act.
More on today's stated agenda. Yeah.
Can you go back to yesterday to the horse issue?
Sure.
Focus on today's stated agenda, then when members step aside, because we just want to get everyone stated. Any yeah, Jack.
On UBT,
Yeah.
why is the council choosing to preserve the full credit for people under earning under $1 million? It's the mayor's suggested $142K.
Yeah. Nathan, do you want to answer that? And just for everyone's edification on the UBT, that is obviously the council's proposal to raise taxes. And so I'll leave it to you.
So basically,
Yeah, do you both want to come up? Come on up. Don't be shy. Come on up.
All right, I'm going to give you my expert on this, Emra.
So we put the $1 million threshold in the budget response, and we worked from there. The mayor's proposal at 142 only raised like 1 or 2% more money, and so the feeling was keep it at the 1 million threshold. That got the money that we needed, and there was a need to go below that.
Follow up for the speaker. You aren't generally a tax-rich kind of person. This could be seen as an increase in taxes and taking away credit. How do you square those things?
So first of all, in our April 1st budget response, we had two tax-rich proposals. We had this, the UBT, which we put in, and we had the PTET. So we actually did have two different ways that we thought taxes should be raised. Both of them we thought would make a lot of sense. We pushed for both of them. The PTET was not accepted by the state. The UBT is solely within the council's power, and so that's what we've done, and we think it makes sense.
On the pay raises, do you think that the city, I know that the New Yorkers' real median incomes have only grown by about 2% over the last 5 years, according to state controller. They're growing at a very, very slow rate compared to the rate of inflation. Is there anything the city should be doing or pursuing on a policy level outside of public sector workers to help people grow their incomes the way that the council is going to vote to grow theirs?
Absolutely. I think one of the signature proposals that we secured in the budget was NYC Kids Rise, a program I created over a decade ago. It's a universal college savings program. We've now done 380,000 college savings account. What we were able to achieve in this budget is $1,000 for every public school kindergartner. And studies show that those graduates who go on to college earn double the wages of someone who does not. So when you talk about what is the single best way to attack income inequality and to actually lift wages for New Yorkers, it is through programs like NYC Kids Rise, which we doubled down on.
Most recent data shows that even people in the middle income brackets, like $80,000 to $150,000 a year,
Do you want to
are
talk
not
about?
seeing their wages grow at commensurate with the increase in inflation. Is there anything else that the city can do?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're funding workforce training. We're funding workforce development opportunities. We're focused on small business help so that small business owners and workers, across the board, look what we're doing for paraprofessionals. We're increasing their wages by $10,000. This is something, right?
Community college.
Yeah, and community colleges. I mean, there's so many different ways we are focused as a body on increasing wages. And let me just be clear. We push for the wages for the EMS workers. We push for the fifth firefighter. We pushed really hard for that. The administration did not want to do either. On the paraprofessionals, this was non-negotiable for us. We've worked on this for 2 years, and we are finally lifting the paraprofessional wages by $10,000. And that is something we are immensely, immensely proud of. And let me ask the bill sponsor if she wants to add anything.
The only other thing, I think the speaker listed a lot of amazing things that the council has done and could do. The only thing I wanted to say, just in terms of what the council, you have to think about what do we have the power to do. And just another thing that we've done, we continue to do, is on pay raises for human service workers. I feel like that is the biggest thing that we've done. We obviously have control over that because so many of those nonprofit organizations are contracting with the city. The council has been super consistent about making sure their wages are raised. And so those are the type of measures that I think this council has done and will continue to do to ensure that we are playing our role in increasing wages both for public service workers and also encouraging the private sector as well.
Any more on-topic questions? Great. We'll move to off-topic questions. Members are free to step aside. Unstated.
Hi, Sally.
Do you support the argument that New Yorkers would benefit from open primaries?
So I used to serve on the board of directors many years ago at Citizens Union. It's not a new issue. I mean, obviously there's data that shows that cities like LA and Chicago and Boston and many others have open primaries. New York is one of the few that does not. I haven't seen new data. I know Citizens Union has been pulling new data. I know that on this ballot initiative, it would come to the council. My view of this is it's not appropriate for elected officials to be making changes on these issues. That's something that would just go to the voters. So I don't feel that we, as a city council, should be taking that issue up. I think that if there are the requisite number of signatures, that's for voters to decide. It's not for us to decide.
Can you just expand on that? Why do you think it's not appropriate? Because the law allows for the council to.
I know, but it changes our election system, and I feel that that's something best for the, they are getting these signatures on a ballot initiative. That's the route that they went, so that should, I just feel that that's probably the best. But honestly, I've not talked to my colleagues about that, so look forward to talking to them about it to see where the members are at on it.
Speaker, yesterday you had that marathon hearing.
Yes, yes.
Today we're hearing from the carriage drivers again. Some of them are expressing some frustration. They're disappointed. They say that you left it early, according to them, and they also feel like you made up your mind prior to yesterday's hearing.
Sure. Yeah, happy to address that. Well, the hearing, it was almost 10 hours. I was honored to be there for the first few hours of it, and then I actually came back a second time. We had another hearing going on Mitchell-Lama in the afternoon that I also had to attend that was on raising rents by 31% on residents in Mitchell-Lama, so that was also an important hearing. I was there to hear TWU's testimony, and I really appreciated what they had to say and that they were there. And then throughout the day, I watched online to hear additional testimony. And we will, of course, look at every single hour of testimony as we do on important topics. In terms of my view on this, again, the point of the hearing is to solicit feedback. I thought we heard some great testimony from TWU, from the workers, from animal rights advocates, from New Yorkers who care about this issue, no matter what their personal view might be. And now we're going to synthesize all of that. We'll obviously take that feedback back, make some changes to the bill in accordance with that.
Thank you.
Hi.
Just kind of moving right into more about that hearing yesterday. One thing you mentioned after the TWU testimony was that you are committed to focusing on the e-bike legislation. Were you talking about a bill that would require licensing and registration for e-bikes? You used to be a co-sponsor of that bill.
Sure.
You're not on it. Is that what you were talking about?
I wasn't talking about any one particular bill. We have dozens and dozens of bills that members have submitted on e-bikes. Everything from, and they really run the gamut in terms of what the topics are. So what I was mentioning is we are going to have a hearing soon on e-bikes to really talk about the issue. And we've got a lot of different ideas in the hopper. So more to come on that.
Do you support e-bike licensing?
Again, it's not one particular thing that I support or don't support. It's that we've got a lot of different ideas. We're currently going through them to decide which ones we're going to have hearing on. We haven't made that final decision yet. We will be very shortly. But the point being that we're very focused on doing something around e-bikes. There have been a lot of accidents happening around the city on e-bikes that are of great concern. We know we need to take some action. And so then the question is, well, what is the right type of action to take? And a lot of different council members have a lot of different ideas. So I want to have a fulsome hearing where we can really hear from the public on that.
Great. We have time for one or two more. Sure.
Thank you.
TWU yesterday was very critical of the workforce development part of the legislation. And
Yeah.
Samuelson's statement said it was half-baked.
Yeah.
But you mentioned just now you're going to do more to
Right.
work on that.
Yes.
Could you go into some detail?
Sure, I'm happy to. So there's language in Romanche's law on workforce development, and that was in the original Riders Law. So that language has been there for some time. I do believe that language needs to be beefed up. We need to do more to protect the workers, and so I look forward to meeting more with TWU, hearing their views on it, talking to the workers, talking to the medallion owners, talking to DCWP, and really trying to come up with some more robust language, which I think needs to be inserted into that bill.
Could the medallion owners be compensated?
Look, that's something that people have been talking about. I think we need a multi-prong approach, which is, again, one of the things we're going to be focused on.
Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
The mayor's rental ripoff report this morning made some proposals that would require city council action, particularly changing the way that credit checks can be used by landlords and sort of the payment burden onto landlords. Is that something that the council is considering or open to?
So I haven't had a chance to read the report yet. I saw that it came out. We are going to read it after stated, and then we look forward to having a response on that and talking to some of the members. But credit check issues obviously very important, and we know something needs to be done on that. So I look forward to reading the report. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Related to paras and yeah, I'm wondering how important do you see your role in kind of keeping the mayor to his campaign promises on these issues? Paras, helping. Well, I'm already here.
We'll get back to this one. We're really I told her my boss. Okay, I figured you could show, yeah. Sorry. Makes sense. Not been like, just been like leaving corporate is still I feel like you do it. It's fine. I mean, I just